Hello everyone. Okay, welcome in this webinar, New Bauhaus Stories. Okay, Moe, you let me know if there is a technical issue, otherwise I suppose you can hear me well?
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. So this session is the first of a series of webinars that is dedicated to sharing experiences on how to implement the new European Bauhaus in the construction sector. My name is Clémentine Coujard. I'm from Dowell Innovation. It's a French consultancy company, and we are coordinating the Nebula project. This project is organizing this series of webinars. Okay, just having an issue passing my presentation. Okay, so this first episode is entitled Co-Creation in Urban Regeneration. We will have two projects joining today to present how they co-design solutions with the stakeholders of their local ecosystem and the construction value chain. This session is planned to last for 1 hour and a half. I will start with a very brief introduction about the Nebula project, the series of webinars, and an introduction of our speakers of the day. I will then let the floor to my colleague Annemie, who will tell you a few words about the new European Bauhaus. Then we will continue with a presentation of the NEB-STAR project, a 20-minute presentation, and then followed by the question and answer. Then we continue with the revalue project on the same process, and we conclude the session with a discussion between the two projects and a few words to close the session. Before you start, on your GoToWebinar app, you can see two buttons that can be useful to you. So there is the question mark button that you can use to set your questions, and I will read them during the Q&A session. And then you have this documents button where you can find the presentations that will be used today. Also, just before we start, it's the first webinar of the series, and we are interested to knowing more about your profile. So we would like to take a short poll to know what type of organization you are coming from. Moe, I let you launch the poll.
Yes, sure, Clement is coming. So you should be able to see it now on your screen. The question is, which type of organization are you coming from? Industrial, company, public or private, research center, public agency or administration, cluster or other? I see half of the audiences have already voted.
Okay, let's give it a few more seconds. Okay, so it seems set.
Yeah, about 71% already voted, so maybe 5 more seconds.
Okay.
And I will share the results. So you can see Clementine and everyone, so the majority, well, it's divided, are coming from public or private research center, public agency or administration, and the other. While we have a from cluster and industrial. Yes, sure.
Okay, thanks everyone for participating to the poll. Okay, so now we can start. And I will start with a few words about the Nebula project. So it's a coordination and support action funded under the Horizon Europe program. And we have three objectives. The first one is to foster the dissemination and adoption of the new European Bauhaus principles and practices. And that is what gathers us today here. The second objective is to support the Build for People partnership. So it's a sub-program of Horizon Europe that is focused on funding innovation related to the built environment. And in our project, we aim to facilitate the access to this funding and the networking opportunities so that any organization can participate to this program. And the third objective is to set up a network of innovation clusters. The idea here is to increase the collaborations from local level to European level in terms of cross collaboration between organizations, between countries, but also between various disciplines, which is very in the spirit of the new European Bauhaus. Just to mention that we have some resources on our website that you can use. We published a handbook in last July. You can find some generic information about the new European Bauhaus, but also some concrete examples and all types of resources that you can find on the net in terms of networking opportunities, funding opportunities, examples, initiatives ongoing. And also, we are developing a funding toolbox where you can find guidelines and tools in order, if you are looking for funding from public to private funding to support innovation in relation to the built environment. Okay, just to mention, so this session is the first one of a series, as you can see. The next session will be held in April. It is part of the NEB Festival. And it will be the interview of 3 awardees of the New European Bauhaus prizes of the last years. And you can see that there are more sessions that are planned in May until October, and hopefully we hope you will join us. I will put all the links in the chat after my brief introduction. Now I'm going to introduce you to the speakers of the day. First, the NEB-STAR project. So it stands for New European Bauhaus Stavanger, a city in Norway. It's one of the 6 new European Bauhaus lighthouse demonstrators funded by Horizon Europe. And the Pedersgata area is in the city center, is one of the project pilot sites, and that will be discussed today. We will welcome Annemie Wickmans, professor at Norwegian University of Science and Technology, head of Smart Sustainable Cities, coordinator of the NEB-STAR project, and also of the Craft City project, and she will tell you just a few words about it. And we welcome Margrethe Oerdal Stopple, who's CEO at Ellen & Hard Architecture Office. Then the Revalue project. This project is funded under the EU Mission for Climate Neutral and Smart Cities and involves 9 European waterfront cities. One of these cities is the city of Bruges, and the focus in the project is on the key district that will be presented today. And we welcome Lise de Boot, who is a Revalue project manager at the city of Bruges, and Koen Timmerman, policy officer at the city. And now I will leave the floor to Annemie to tell you more about what is the New European Bauhaus.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm not going to give you a detailed background of New European Bauhaus. You can read that on the website, and there's a lot of events, etc., that will explain what this is. And we hope also to see everyone at the New European Bauhaus Festival in April, 9 to 14 April in Brussels. I would like to give you a little bit of background of how this could be very important, or how this is very important for the construction sector, for the built environment, and so basically for all of you, all of us involved in this. If you go to the next slide. So in the beginning, so a few years ago, then in 2020, the New European Bauhaus was launched, and it was launched by Ursula von der Leyen as the soul of the Green Deal. So the Green Deal, of course, making sure that Europe is both going to become climate neutral, but that this is done in a way that is also competitive for industry, that is attractive for the population, so that has everyone on board, and that also creates an actionable and positive future for everyone. And this, of course, envelops a lot of technical, environmental, economic measures that need to be taken. But in order then to make this really this positive and livable future for everyone, the new European Bauhaus was called into action to really engage people, to give people ownership of this transition, to give people agency of this transition, because after all, it is our living environment, our working environment. So the time we spend in our cities, our communities, in rural areas, we spend with our friends and our families and our colleagues. We spend our daily lives. We want to be healthy. We want to prosper. Of course, we want to have enough money in order to be able to have a good life. We want to have a nice clean air. We want to have green around us. We want to have good, attractive buildings and built environment. We want to be able to have accessible services and all of these things. And of course, we want this, even with the transition to climate neutrality, etc., we want to make sure that this builds on our heritage and our identity, our the way we've been building for many centuries. So this cultural history, the local materials, local skills in the construction sector as well, that they can be taken into account into that future that we are creating for ourselves. So a lot of people need to be involved in this, obviously, from a very young age to basically the whole range of population, different types of communities, different types of stakeholder groups as well. So to make sure that everyone can be and feels that they are a part of this. But then, of course, rethinking also how we design and manage our built environment, the buildings, the neighborhoods, the cities, the rural communities, the connection between rural, suburban, and urban areas, and everything in between. So this is very important for the whole construction sector and basically for anyone that is involved in creating and managing the built environment and using it. So this is the background. So we are very happy to see that the Nebula project then is combining Built for People partnership and the new European Bauhaus values. So making our environment beautiful and inclusive and sustainable, and also the principles of co-creating, making sure that it's participatory, that we work across disciplines and sectors and interests in order to make this happen. We need everyone on board in order to show how our future can be also circular, so no waste, local materials, organic materials, good design principles, making sure that our buildings and built environment are comfortable, etc., etc. So if you go to the next one, please. So this is, of course, a big task. And in the beginning of the new European Bauhaus, there was a strong connection then being created between the new European Bauhaus and the city's mission, so making cities climate neutral and smart and socially innovative, with 112 cities involved in Europe. But now, of course, that also needs to be expanded towards neighborhoods, towards communities, not just in cities, but communities all over Europe, rural, suburban, urban, and in all corners of Europe, for everyone to be involved. So Clémentine already briefly introduced the NEB-STAR and the Revalue projects. There is another coordination support action then that is called CRAFT, Creating Actionable Futures. It is funded by the city's mission, and it's a connection then to New European Bauhaus. So for this reason, we are very happy to be able to work together with Nebula and Built for People partnership in order to broaden that cooperation. What we've been doing in the past year is to collect a lot of examples and ways of working, of what is already going on in Europe in order to create these climate neutral and even climate positive cities and communities. So with engagement, with local materials, with design, with the whole value chain on board in order to make that transition positive and actionable. And the first result of this, which is a nice complement to the handbook and a toolbox, etc., that's already out there. So we created a cookbook with some principles, some stories, some examples, and then with like, how do you create a vision? How do you plan for this locally? How do you get the consent from politicians? How do you create funding models for this, etc.? So basically, step by step, how you're organizing this, or how you could be organizing this, with concrete examples from people and organizations that have been doing this on the ground across Europe. And on the right-hand side, you see then the different cities that have been involved in this work so far. We hope, of course, that a lot of people from Build for People partnership and anyone else would want to be involved in expanding this, in creating then a second edition and a third edition for next year, with examples, insights, etc. This is something that we can also discuss later on, so you can contact us if you're interested in this, if you have a good example, or if you would just like to be part of discussing this further, what is needed, what kind of information would be needed in order to make this happen. So that is something we'll come back to at the end of this webinar. For now, I think this is just an introduction then to listen to two really great projects then from Stavanger and from Bruges, both of which are also featured and in the handbook, in the cookbook. So we would like to hear more now about those two examples as inspiration also for you to do your own work locally and to be engaged in this conversation of what is needed for you to make this happen locally in your city and community as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annemie. And now I will give the floor to Margrethe to tell us more about the NEB-STAR project. So.
Well, thank you. I just then try to share my screen with you. I see I need to get the permission again to show it to you.
Coming.
Super.
Okay, this is done.
And we're really close. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. And as you see, the topic here is about co-creation of regeneration schemes. And now we are halfway in the NEB-STAR project, so this is a way for us to show some of the experiences so far and give you insight in the project. And Helen & Hard, our company, is one of the 14 partners in this project. And of course, this presentation will both give it the information in my perspective, and also I will tell you a little bit about our motivation for joining this project. But first, one of the tasks, I think, as architects and urban planner in private projects, and that we're trying to make new houses or new offices to people, we need to understand what the phrases mean and how do we put these values into physical surroundings. So it's nice that we start with the main values that we put into this regeneration schemes. So sustainable, beautiful, and together, or inclusiveness is of course the three values. And I see that our role in this project are putting especially focus on the beautiful, as we find that other partners are taking good care of the others. And of course, it's the whole we are interested in and see how those three values are coordinating and building the fundament for both the project and the experiences and advices that we will give from the projects. But that will be the main start for us to put it on the beautiful. And we see in Stavanger, we face some of the same challenges as other places in Europe, and when we think that we want to balance these three values. One of them, in our everyday, we feel that we see that people are kind of impatient and to see how we can solve this. But I think there is two main challenges that we meet in the ongoing project, that there is a high requirements for documentation. It's not that easy to find specific solution because we need to have the documentation of every quality and how things are built up, and that makes also it easier to kind of copy or use solutions that is known from other projects. So that is kind of challenging us in finding new ways. And the other way, one of the other challenges we see is that we are expected to work really effective, or the efficiency in the project should be high so that we can make it more economic and make it possible to realize the project is. So that is one of the challenges we see, that and that we are trying to see if we can find more solutions in this project for also our projects and how we work. But of course, I want to tell you a little bit in the project what that means to Stavanger. And here is a photo from the city square close to the seaside in the Stavanger center. And Stavanger is the number 4 biggest city in Norway, and it's almost 150 inhabitants. So it's not that big in European contexts. It's a city close to the coast, and that has influenced the history of the city, and especially the way of communication, and also how the work life in this city has developed from the beginning of the city. It was the city grew in the 1900s pretty fast because of the fish food industry, the canning industry, and a lot of the built environments close to city center is built in this period. And so we both had the industry history that we want to take care of, but also the wooden houses that was developed for let people live there when this industry was increasing. But today, a lot of people are working in relying to the oil industry or energy industry. But both of these industries are making us into an international perspective. We think that Stavanger is quite close to Europe, both by traveling by sea or by air. It's easy for us to access Europe, and I think it's easy for us to get inspiration and ideas. And I think the city is kind of proud of being to find ideas that they want to take into their city lives. So that is really encouraging us as well to have this dialogue with you and see what ideas you have in Bruges and other countries in Europe, and so that we can learn from you as well. In Stavanger, as a fundament for the new European Bauhaus project, NEB-STAR, there is the European Green Deal, and that is anchored in the Stavanger municipality's territorial transformation plan. And that is kind of complex and is having a long time horizon, kind of too long, but that also shows us the aim of where Stavanger wants to develop their city. And the project is trying to, with the partners that we have selected or a collaboration with, try to find the solutions that is robust and fair based on this value, so that we can see that we can change the city in the way that city life is working, but to meet the challenges of climate and the social changes. And the goal is that this transition or the changing will come faster. And in a way, we also want to use these processes of co-creation, and also how we understand the executive plan, or how we find the models of financial and partnership models for how private and the public partners work together, so that we can give a roadmap to Stavanger, but that could also be interesting for other cities to understand how they can do this implementation of their climatic goals. So here is an overview of the activities in this project. And today we will have a focus on Pedersgata area. As you see, it's highlighted as number 2 here, and it's close to the center of the project. And we use this test bed to see how we can, by putting focus on this area, test how we can go collaboration together and see which solutions is available or possible here, and also what would the aim be for this area. How could this specific area, this specific site, see developing to be more closer to the Green Deal. And as you see, there is more arrows here. We want the tests to influence the plan, the territorial transformation plan, as we call TT plan, and we want both to help them to the implementation of the plan, but we also want the testers to influence the aim of the plan. Maybe we will see that the way we work in this project can help them to see that they need to change the aim to make this easier to get implemented. And as you also see, we have some arrows to the Nordic. We want to share what we're learning with other NEB projects, but also other cities in the Nordics, but also wider to the whole Europe. We have 2 cities that we will do twinning, that we try to learn from their perspective in how they work with these challenges, and also that we bring our tests to them and see what we can learn of trying to do the same tests there. That is Utrecht and Prague. And we're lately just having a discussion about how this transition of putting our experiences and insight to others, but also how we learn from them when we see how they see that this results of test can be useful for them as well. So there is learning both ways. And we find that really interesting, and that is one of the results I'm looking forward to see, how we can speed up the learning and how we can see that our methods and values or way of working can be relevant in more context, and that makes also the methods we use and how we work more robust. So just an overview of the selection of partners that is joining NEB-STAR and a photo of the people. So we are really proud to have this selection and the mix of partners that is from several disciplines, both education and from the municipalities and the governments. And we also have private developers and also professionals that work into the urban development or building industry, and also professionals that work with social entrepreneuring. And we have NTNU and Dorga, who is also having a national perspective, and we can expect them also to be one of the partners that is having a national position to have a broader impact in how we can use the results further on. And I think the mix of partners or the selection that is presenting here is showing that Stavanger doesn't start with these ideas and a way of collaboration now. There is a history in Stavanger of trying to achieve this way of working together, and that is also making us giving me more hope that we will have results there that we can see are helping Stavanger municipality to achieve their goals. Yes, I would like to say a little bit more about Helen and Hard and our history, and how our motivation for joining this project is. Our company started for about 30 years ago, and we have offices in Stavanger and Oslo, but our project is worldwide, but most of them is in Europe. And as you see here, that is one of the basic, the fundamental of how we think about architecture. And one of the things you can see here that we are finding the nature as an important inspiration to how we work, and we think that it's important that the physical structure that we are seeing in our city and that we meet in our everyday is inspired by the nature. And one of the ways that we use is to use timber in the construction and timber in the surfaces in the both inside and outside, but also to put organic design into as a design perspective. So here you see some of the examples of work we have been doing. And we also have worked with wooden construction and organic design in bigger scales, and we see that we need to work systematic and also be joining teams so that we have the right skills to make sure that we make this project to a reasonable price and also make them possible to build, or so that they can actually be developed from a drawing and from our sketches to buildings and physical surroundings. So here it shows 4 of the phases that we find really important, and that what we have learned during these years of working with this topic and the way of designing is that we need to see how the wooden material have some limitation, but also opportunities that we need to clarify early in the project, and we need to find the combination of how we are building this so that we can design together with that we see how this system could be built or constructed. And we also, at the third point here, we see that we need to get the right person in the team so that we will have the knowledge that is necessary to make this as spectacular and unique as we want it to be, and also that we know that we get all the requirements of the technical and safety issues so that we don't the ideas could be realized. And how the last point here shows how we work digitally, and that is important so that we can make the sketches to the working, like to go further to the producer. And one of the things that we have invited this project to is to understand the way that we develop our design. And here is one example from Stavanger as well. And at the right here, at the left here, we see some sketches that is showing the way that we have related or getting in contact with this area and this project. It shows lines that is going into, it's more like, I can show it's in the middle of this 6 houses, and there will be the meeting place for the people living there. But that shows how we connect to this area, and we call that method walk the land, and that is one of the tools that we have tested in this project. And usually we use this method to for ourselves and our professional team to connect to the area and see how we can get an artistic expression about how what we experience when we are there, and how we can do that as a fundament for the design further on. And so you see to the left here the views from how the building will look like and how the design have been developed. And the sum of this both registration and artistic expression, we call that relational design. And it both goes into the choice of materials. It affects how we do the structure between the houses. But I want also the picture here to show you that it influences how the urban plan of this area would get in contact with the surroundings. Like this example here, the new houses will meet the houses there are there already, and trying to also get a dialogue with the houses so that there will be an aesthetic and architectural experience that will give value to the people living there, both in their everyday, but also as a further development of the wooden city of Stavanger. So this we have two steps in this method, both the walk the land that is expressed in the drawings here, but the relational design that is kind of expressed here with the way that we can develop the architecture and how the building will look like, and the structure of a new house area. So both of these methods are we trying to now include the partners in this project to take part in and see what will that give a value into the method, so that we can understand how can we lead this better or more, make it more safe, or making it more easy for people to understand what they are joining, but also that we can be aware of what value other people are bringing into it, even though they don't have this professional experiences from before or haven't the education related to it, but still we're trying to listen to the people who attend these processes, so that will be values that we can use into develop of the design. Well, it might be kind of abstract, but that is one of the challenges we have given ourselves, that we want to develop our way to do these methods. So, and now a short status in the project. We are so lucky to are kind of together with a team building up now a library of reports. And sometimes the reports can be, it's really tough work for people to write down everything we've done and what we have learned, and make it in the right format, but still it's so valuable to have this written form, so that we have the value of the project can live further on. It doesn't rely on the people there or how they tell it, or how what people they meet, but that is giving us a good possibility to give the result further on. Okay, so this is Pedersgata. I see the time is running fast, so I'll try to give you just a quick view of this area. And as you see, there is it's a small scale part of the city. There is wooden houses, but there is a lot of houses there with high cultural value, and people live here. But it has also been an area that has been focused on to how the health issue and how people, the everyday for people living there. So the welfare have been low for about 20 years ago. So the municipality saw that we need to give this a special focus so that people can improve their way of living here. So that brings us to this overview, because the project, the NEB-STAR, is kind of building on top of earlier results and earlier experiences. So I think that is valuable to understand what we're seeing of results now. So the blue line here is Pedersgata area, and it shows how long that area is, and the black buildings or sites here are a project that we have been working with, and so we know this area pretty well. And I could put your attention to the one drawing that is named 2 and 3 with a green line around. So there was an important aim 20 years ago that they would develop the coastline of the city, and that would both increase the housing so that more people could live here and get more people to work here, but still they're also, and at the same time they would increase the way of social entrepreneurship, so that the people living here could, in a better way, take part in the development and see how they could influence the work, the way that the city were developed. Now we use these experiences to give the same challenge about the climate change. How can we work together with both the aim that the municipality has and the Green Deal have put to the city, but also see that how we can implement these changes together with the people. The green line telling people, okay, we want to give this people access to the seaside and make that an important area for people to spend time there. I think that is easier to tell people to take part in, and it's easier to understand how we will do that. So compared to that, I think this challenge of the climate change is quite complex, and it's I think one of the main issues that we are seeing in Pedersgata is that it's not that easy to understand what changes are required. What would be a better future for Pedersgata, and how is that defined for this area specific? So that is one of the things that we see we're eager to clarify, and that will make it easier for also implementing changes when we see clearer how we can prioritize between the aims that we see as necessary. So just a fast slides here in the end. Here is, you see, one of the projects that we have been completed here in Pedersgata is Vindmøllebakken, is a co-living project and also a restaurant that is in a historical building. And just pay attention to also the silos here, because this will bring you to this next picture. This is a huge area of transformation. This silos in a harbor area, so that they can also increase the people living there. So this is an ongoing project. And I would like to give you just an impression about how we walk the land in Pedersgata, and how this could be the fundament for having an impact for Pedersgata. We have done workshops together with partners in Pedersgata several times, but this is one of the results. And for a lot of us, this drawings doesn't make much sense, but for people attending here and doing this artistic expression about how Pedersgata could be, how they express some experience or feelings, or how people relate to this area, this is an expression of that. And I also would show you one of the tests we did, where we asked the partner of the project to join us for doing this drawing exercise. And here we have the partners from different backgrounds, and we expect them to just to take part in this test. It's important to make them put a new perspective and see new ways of collaboration. So that will be my last slide for now, and this is also showing the Vindmøllebakken and how that new co-housing project is related to the area close by Pedersgata. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Margrethe. Well, I see we don't have questions from the audience so far. Don't hesitate to use the chat box to ask your question if you have any. Annemie, would you like to comment before we go to revalue presentation?
No, I think it's okay if we have both presentations then first, if there's no questions from the audience, because then we can compare the presentations afterwards, or they can ask questions to each other as well.
All right, then Koen, I will give you, okay, you should be able to share your presentation now.
Okay. I'm trying to. You seeing?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Good morning from my side. I'm Koen Timmerman from the city of Bruges, and we are broadcasting live from an event in our Revalue project with some 100 youngsters working downstairs here at this very moment on a concept building lab on the project. But Liz will tell you more about that. That's why we chose as a background those two youngsters going, oh, this goes automatically. That is not what I expected. Um, what is Bruges is Flanders, Belgium. You might know and might have been here. 120,000 happy and proud inhabitants, at least as we may believe our enquete that we have here 3 yearly on the whole of Flanders. Oh, this goes too fast. And we're from the coast to the inland, and we are in transition as so many countries are. This is the beautiful picture that we all like and the city where we live in. Yes, this is really a marvel to live here in this beautiful city. But of course, the city is more and have a lot of challenges to tackle. One of the most important challenges is the climate issue. And this is our mayor presenting the climate plan Bruggen naar morgen, bridges to tomorrow, or Bruges tomorrow. And it consists of 7 main topics that we are trying to tackle. Bruges has to heat, as all other cities, fossil-free by 2050. So this asks a lot of new renovation things and fossil-free solutions. Renewable energy, of course, more wind and more solar energy. We have a lot of wind energy because we're a coastal city, but solar energy is a big challenge, especially in the heritage city. We have to move more healthy and smart, but also fossil-free. So the whole transport system should be changed. Circular city, becoming more circular in our enterprises, but also in our consumption. We have our food strategy. We have a Bruges becoming more climate resilient by giving more water and more space to water and green. And of course, the most important for us is how shall we organize our city to do all these things, because it will not be the city council or the municipality that will solve all this. It will need investment from so many people. That's why this is for us the main and most important slide. Having a beer and discussing with people our aims and our challenges on the climate issue is the first step, and we try to be present at many events and many places where people gather spontaneously here on this historical ramparts during festivity, and people are very willing to talk with us. But of course, talking is not enough and drinking beer is not enough. We have to work together, and therefore we organize all kind of stakeholder events to discuss, to work together, to think together how we should solve all those issues. And it really works because we are engaging the longer, the more people who are starting their own initiatives here. For instance, we have some grandparents for climate who engage themselves to organize a Climax festival, a festival on climate issues, and it brings all kind of events. Thinking about that, we were thinking that NEB thing, New European Bauhaus, actually we were working already a few years on that by this very interesting initiative, the Triennale, which is now this year having its 4th edition, and which combines contemporary art with architectural architecture. And you see some pictures from the last edition with these tree huts and some interesting things here. This big whale made from plastics found all over the world, and it introduces a discussion and a debate in the city on how we should use space and how we should develop our city. And it has some interesting effects. For instance, in the first edition, we had this spectacular Bauhaus Swimmers Club. It was always a big dream of the Brugians to swim in the water in the canals, but it was always forbidden for some reason, or the water wasn't good, or there was too much noise, or the small boats couldn't pass. Anyway, at 2018, at that first edition, we had the first swimming club in Bruges, and since then we ever have a swimming area in the canals of Bruges, because everybody was so fond of this area, and it is for us a very interesting way to discuss the value of water in our city and to show to people and to the local government the importance of taking care of the quality of water. Another example, for instance, is this House of Time. The Berlin architect collective Raumlabor was in the edition of 2021 working with some warehouses, some abandoned warehouses of a former yeast factory, and they transformed it into a great maker space where youngsters and people with difficulties to reach the labor market work together on all kind of making things: a repair cafe, a wood workshop, having some workshops on music and fun, and it grew out to a great place. This year's edition is called Spaces of Possibility. You're welcome to join us during the coming months. And this is exactly what we want to do with the NEB, creating spaces of possibility. And I will show you 3 examples and then pass the word to my colleague Liz, who will explain more the Revalue project. This, at this very moment, is built in the center of the city. It is a new exhibition hall that will create a new place to meet, not only a big garden in the middle of town, but also an exhibition hall with a free accessible ground floor so that people, visitors and citizens can meet there. We will
Ja,
move.
hei. Jeg så litt på, jeg var delvis med på et seminar her, men
There's
nå
some
hadde jeg litt
microphone
ledig
going
tid,
on,
så jeg prøvde bare, men
Please,
hadde i hvert
there's
fall
someone
noen
with the
minutter
open
her.
microphone.
Ja.
I think
Can
it's
you please
maybe
mute?
and then we will move with our city council, which is now in this very dull building on top of this picture, to this very interesting and historical building in the city center in a green area.
Ja.
This is a former clinic that will be transformed into our new city council house, where we have space not only for our administration but also space for other people working together on urban transition. So the new European Bauhaus dream is already growing there. And then the last picture I will show is this interesting thing from our facility management, who is more and more transforming or moving towards circular building, and they will now create a neighborhoods building in one of our suburbs, and they will work there completely circular, even with the bricks that will be made from local clay. Just to say that we have also a spatial policy plan that tries to combine all those challenges, and we are indicating some transformation spots in the city. And one of the main transformation spots is exactly that Revalue project, the Quay districts, which is now shown. And Liz will continue now with the presentation.
Hi everybody, so I'm Lies, I'm a colleague of Koen and I'm working for the city of Bruges as well, and I'm the director of the Revalue project, and we are working with the Quay district. If you saw on the, okay, I'm hearing myself. Okay.
Switch off the.
Okay, perfect. Okay, go just to the former picture. So we are just at the north of the city center. So in the south, you can see just a last part of the egg of Bruges, of the historical center. And we are really a binding district because we are squeezed between the inner port, you can see. So it's just going to the Bruges, our port, and the city center. And we are also in the middle of a lot of residential zones. So we have St. Peter, St. Joseph, Christus Christ King, for example. So it's a very important area. And the current situation you can see right now, it's a very large, it's an area with a very large economical value. But unfortunately, it's a very concrete area, so there's low spatial efficiency. It's a very monofunctional area. There's a lot of parking places, a lot of supermarkets, a lot of shits. And unfortunately, the city doesn't own any area of the Quay district except for the public domain. But nevertheless, the city wants to be in the lead, want to be the director of the development of this area. So really want to be in the lead to direct this transition spot like it was already defined in the spatial policy plan Koen talked about. Okay, to the next. Yes. So through a project grant, a study was drawn up, and this resulted in a very supported picture. You can see in the image a picture of the future as a possible fulfillment of the stated ambitions the city already stated in, for example, the policy plan, in the climate plan. Um, the transition of this project area will take place step by step, and the picture of the future will be gradually adjusted because we don't own any area. And in this concept study, the area is divided in three different zones. So you can see the retail cluster, the food hub, and the makers district. And in the retail cluster, we really focus on optimization of the underused space and greening this space. We want to have more multifunctional use of space. We really want to have a layer diverse area. So we make it possible to have housing on the edges, for example. We want to cluster the parking spaces because this area takes too much place. For example, right now, we want to think about home delivery via cargo bikes or other sustainable modal modes, for example. The food hub is characterized by the presence of Horeca Total. It's a very large food industry in Bruges, but also other businesses with an important outlets in the Bruges catering industry. We also thinking there about picking gardens. We are thinking about circularity, short chain, rooftop gardens, vegetable gardens, and so on. And in the Makers District, we really want to focus um, on the making process. So in the inner courtyard of the Makers District, we want to become this the beating heart where makers, for example, residents and visitors can meet. And this maker district is really an area for makers who don't longer find a place anymore in the city center. Maybe to the next slide. Yeah, you can see now just more focused on the three areas on the Quay district, and we really use the metaphor of the lasagna as well in the study. Um, to indicate the image of the future of the Quay district, of the stated ambitions of the city, because the city really wants to be in the lead of this transitional area, of this transition spot, because we want to have this multifunctional use of space. Because really, like it is in the lasagna, an interweaving of manufacturing economy, of businesses, of various forms of housing, for example, facilities, tourism, temporary use as well. And I will show you in a moment an example of this. Sustainable logistics is a very important item as well. Um, in this concept study and Revalue as well, we have the spatial quality, we have climate neutrality as main goals, but circularity is really the common thread in this project as well. And that's the reason why we are here upstairs, but downstairs there are already all these 100 youngsters are really thinking right now about circularity. Circularity about water management, about energy, about food change, about material change. And they already, in the study, they already thought about different solutions for all these challenges to become a more circular area. So that's already one output of our co-creation project, because in the Revalue, um, in the Revalue project, it's really a result of the policy plan, for example, of the concept study of the climate plan. So all these plans and studies, they come together in the Revalue project, because there we want to experiment with several forms of co-creation with both internal and external stakeholders. And one of this co-creation processes already is a circular festival, which took place a couple of weeks ago, and we made circular benches of trees of Bruges, dead trees of Bruges, and we made a bench with the inhabitants of Bruges. We made other sculptures as well, but these had to be finished a little bit. So now I showed you only the benches, really to show the people and the inhabitants and the stakeholders that there really is something going on in the Quay district. And it's now located in an area which will be developed in the near future and which will be green as well. Then some other co-creation projects already. So the Vlaio Innovation Camps is a co-creation project with secondary schools in Bruges. So with more than 100 students. At the left picture, you can see the first workshop took place in October last year, and now we already had our background you can see as well, and the picture as a right, was a start of the workshop today, and there were some aldermen coming to speak to the students, and now they are presenting the first pitch, what they have learned in the first workshop. They had to work together with the other schools, with their colleagues of their own classroom, of their own school. And in January next year, there will be an output, and there will be a large workshop for everybody of the city. And then at the bottom, there's already another workshop and another project with the university in Bruges, Vives University, where 20 students went in September to Ålesund, that one of the partner cities in the Revalue project, together with Rimini and Burgas. Together with Bruges, we are the 4 lead cities in the Revalue project. And there you can see the students pitching their building concepts, because we asked them to be a developer and to develop one part of the Quay district. And so in order to become a circular area, to become more climate neutral or totally climate neutral, and to really search for new innovational concepts of circularity, of spatial quality and climate neutrality. And this is a co-creation project, the last one that started a couple of weeks ago as well. Co-creation project just with my colleagues of the city, so with the internal stakeholders, and where we are thinking about the plans of the developers. So we really go for a solution for the developers. The developers can there pitch their project, and we can work together with them. It's just not that we just give an advice and then there's no contact anymore. So we really work together with the developer to get to get to a very nice development that is climate neutral, that stitched together with the plans of the city, to the spatial policy plan and the climate plan and other plans as well. So I think these are already a couple of examples of our co-creation process, and these are what we are experimenting with in the Revalue project.
Okay, this will be the end of our presentation.
Thank you, Lise.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
There is a question. How do you convince the private owners from the Quay district to reorganize their private space? Did you face refusal to cooperate from any company?
I didn't understand the second part of your question. I'm sorry.
Did you face refusals to cooperate from some companies?
To develop the public domain or the private domain?
The private. So first question is, how
So
do you convince the private owners from the Quay district to reorganize their private space? And did you get some
yeah,
refusals from companies?
we just start right now together thanks to the Revalue project. We are with three people in this project, and now it's the the task of the city right now to go to the developers, to go to the homeowners there, to think about climate neutrality, to talk with them, to work together with other owners of the K district, other developers. Yeah, and just to convince them. And how to convince them is to talk with them, to give them some spaces, to give them some more layers in their building, for example. And then we get something back. For example, some urban charges we can let to do some greening of the area. For example, we can ask to them to green some parts of the public domain. But it's a relation of giving and taking. So we have to look for a good talk, for example. So I think this is really the first step. And this is one of my tasks now in the Revalue project, that we are talking now with all these developers, all these interested people, and all the stakeholders around to start some projects.
Thank you, Lise.
Okay.
So there is a question to both projects, so maybe we can go on with Bruges and then Stavanger. From Silva, who is fond of data. Could you share relevant databases or information systems, public or private, on which you are relying, either to inform regeneration decision makers or to engage with citizens? So maybe you can comment a bit, and I invite you to share any possible links in the chat with our attendees. So databases, information sharing. Lise or Koen? Oh, Koen, you are muted. Just
Unmuted.
yes.
And sorry for the presentation, which was a bit hasted. There was some Pecha Kucha format in it. 20 seconds, the image changed without my will. But anyway, do we have some more information on the project? Yes, we can share some links on what is going on and Revalue what is going on in our climate plan, if that is the question. If you ask for information systems on how we deal with stakeholders, or how do we, I should pass the word to Liz, if you have now already some stakeholder management systems that we use, but I don't think we are already in that stage. But I'll pass the word to her.
No, but we are thinking about it, and we just now every week we have a couple of meetings with, like I said again, and something I can add about the information we can share in the Revalue project. We are now reviewing different roadmaps of the different lead cities. So this is really a good summary with all the plans, the policy plans in Bruges, the concept study, for example. So there you can see the summary, and with all the links to our website.
Margrethe, would you like to comment also on this aspect? So Silva is really more focused on databases like public geoportals and open data, and more than high-level information, but detailed databases.
Well, I think it's a good question. It put focus on something important, and I think that is one of the challenges we see in the project, that we several partners are both developing ideas and collecting information, and they're doing it parallel to others. We see that we could share more, and that would be valuable to achieve better results. And I see now that this project is collecting information and making it accessible for people from that this is getting it more accessible than earlier, but I'm curious about how we can do that afterwards, because this will be one of the challenges we see.
Thank you, Margrethe. I see you had one question for Bruges. Would you like to ask it directly?
Yes.
And then I will give the floor to Annemie for more questions. Please.
Yes, I was curious about the legislation about urban planning, because in Norway we have this is physical plans, and if we do co-creation, that is more like an initiative that the municipality do by their own, and they are not forced to do it that way. They have some requirements that is about democracy developments and how they want people to take part in decision making in the municipality, but it doesn't quite, there is no legislation that forces them to, or requirements to do this co-creation. But is that different in Belgium?
There are some plans, but these plans are already quite old. So there are some area plans. Now we are creating more implementation plans, spatial implementation plans. But for the Quay district, in fact, actually there still isn't a spatial implementation plan, but we work on it and we will start it this year. So then the different functions, the different goals of every spot of the area will be fixed then, or more fixed. Now we just talking to each other. So now we are a little bit more we have a little bit more freedom than if we will have this spatial implementation plan. Yeah, so it has its own advantages and disadvantages, because now we are really free to do what we want. We have a very old plan, but we can adjust this plan, so it's not very difficult. But with the other plan, we really can fix the concept study in this implementation plan, but it's a disadvantage then that we can't change a lot more. So now there's no legal plan right now in the Quay district either.
Okay.
Just the old one, and where we can see that it's now very monofunctional, because there are just only economical functions and businesses. So we really want to upscale this and to make this multifunctional area of it.
Because I see that now it depends on the developer if they want to take a lot of interest in the co-creation, and if they want to spend both time and money in that, and kind of that makes the market situation between the developers quite complex, because some of them want to do it because they are thinking in a longer term, or they have maybe several properties in the same area, that they have this broader perspective in the development, but still we see that we struggle to make them see the value of it, and how they will make this impact the project directly, or enough in our perspective.
But I think now with the city atelier that this will change as well, so that we are more on one line, or quicker on one line, the city and the developer, so that we really can talk to each other together with all the city departments. That is not they just talking with the one department and they go to the mayor and they go to the another alderman, for example. Now we are there all together. And then we can advise them, but they can also give solutions for us, for example. So we come together to one large solution for their development.
Thank you. Annemie, would you like to shoot some questions?
Sure. Actually, I would perhaps start with this most recent discussion now. So the database, one of the things, because in both projects, I think so there is work also with digital twins and different types of digital models and different types of data. And one of the things, of course, that's challenging is that when you want to work with this new European Bauhaus, so making it beautiful and inclusive and sustainable and the cooperative participatory aspects, some of that has until now been very difficult to measure, or perhaps it was not usual to create like data on this type of thing. And so I think there's an interesting link somewhere then between like what would we like to measure. You also just said now, so sometimes we struggle to make a politician or an investor or a real estate developer see the value of working in this way. Margarethe, in your original presentation, you also said, so we're trying to find new ways of doing things, but we feel we need to document that, and that can be very challenging. And Lise, you said then, yes, so now we're actually trying to get everyone in the same space to talk together and to figure this out rather than someone just running to the mayor or someone doing this and this. And so I think there's a very interesting conversation there. And I'm starting to wonder what it would be like to have both of you in the same city. So if you have Koen and Lies, the municipality, and then Margrethe, architecture office, Helen and Hart, into the same city working together to make this happen. So what would you like to see? What is it you don't have now, for example, in terms of data being able to show the added value of this kind of work? So what can you not do now? What would you like to see developed or supported better? I think that's a question to both. Don't know who
Well,
wants to go first.
I kind of just a response to the way that you present your work is that you're having this broad contact with people, and as you see, you have this event going on today. So I think we have something to learn. Yeah, it's quite inspiring to see how you do that as a natural rhythm in the way that you work and put the urban development and the city development out to a public area. So that inspired me pretty well in the way that you're representing today.
Um, what I can add maybe is that the storytelling is not is very important actually. Making together the city is something that thrills and that attracts people if they can collaborate on developing some zone, if it's your own house or your own street or your own neighborhood. So we should take developers into a kind of sphere that in Bruges we work together, and we have only 120,000 inhabitants, so it's small enough that everybody knows each other, let's say the important stakeholders, and it is large enough that we can have a certain scale of working together on a certain level of quality. So inspiring all those individual owners and all those individual developers can help to see that the added value of their project can be much higher if we work together and develop a quality and sustainable surrounding. Of course, what we see now is that it's very it's how do you say it's cut up into a very small parcels, and everybody wants the max for its own parcel. And of course some parcels have a lot of potential and other are rather weak, and we should try to combine it. And since we have no property there on our own, we only have our regulation, and we only have our ambition to connect those people. And what Liz is trying to do is creating a kind of ecosystem that not only wants to gain money but also wants to develop the city in a more sustainable and more quality driven way. But of course at the end the money matters of course very much, and therefore we see that it is not so easy to work together with all those partners. We have some key players who are in, but we definitely have some others who are, let's say, weak engaged and want to wait and see no reason why to move at this very moment now. So we have the concept study, the master plan, which is inspiring. But of course, a plan is easily made. It's the implementation, of course, and we hope with Revalue to set the scene and set the ambition high enough so that others follow. And what we need to demonstrate to local policymakers is that it's really worth having a higher ambition on regulation and giving permits to build. But of course, they have the pressure enormous of those developers as well to make things happen and get their money. So we're optimistic, but we're not naive. We know that it's a hard way to go to connect all those people together.
Yeah, as I said, I think Stavanger is one of the cities that are really inspired by international new ideas and trends, and we want to adopt that. And sometimes hear that, oh, we need to look like some other city, and they're having experiences that they have traveled and looked at and see, oh, they have this skyline, they have this high-rise building. How could we get that to our city? And they have this public life. And I think this project is different because it doesn't want us to bring back the surroundings looking just the same as it does in other city, but they're bringing back a method and how that we can, like you say, put value or value more the qualities that we already have in our city, and we want people to take part in that development and make this a unique expression about how the architecture and the city life will be and develop further on. So the way to the things that we are importing or getting an idea about a new method, I think, and the values from NEB-STAR and the way that they highlight the way of working instead of just making us build a copy of what we see in other city. But it's even harder to tell that story and make people take part in it because it's it's a communication challenge, I think.
Mhm.
But
It's
I
absolutely
think.
true, and I think that identity and starting from your own qualities and making a story that is for you and for your city is absolutely important. And I think the NEB framework with the three values, beauty, togetherness, and sustainability is let's say, it's of course at an abstract level, but it's for us and for me personally an ideal driver to combine those three challenges at the same time, because sometimes it's only about beauty. We have a heritage city, everybody's talking about how beautiful this city is. It's true, but we have to make it sustainable. How will we make it sustainable, and how do we make it affordable? And that's an interesting discussion starting also in our own administration, because we are all working in our silos apart. And what Liz is trying to do with that Stadsatelier, with that city workshop, is trying to combine the vision and the ambition of at least the administration, and it will of course involve political engagement too, but they are growing in their vision too, and that's what we have to demonstrate also by looking to other cities who are doing it very well.
Hmm. But as I kind of see the developers and how they respond to this transition and how they can find a way and find solution for them own, just both economic and also the content of new projects, I see that they are looking to the risk. Do we expect this framework or the plans to change just in few years? That will kind of make them considering, should we postpone this project because maybe that will be easier for us to make it in several years, because if we see the transition, no, the changing in plans are going, they expect it to change further on. They will kind of look for the best opportunity or the best time to start a project, and or they will look to other cities in Norway. We see that the plans with this Green Deal anchoring are a little different, and then the people that is more liberate, they are getting higher investment in new building projects. So I see that this, to put this in the formal plan and make it even into the legislation, would make the growth come in all of the city, not only in the one is the liberate one. But maybe that will change when we see that also the developer will see the value of having this co-creation process and having a longer perspective in their own projects. But yeah, my focus will be to try to see a solution for also putting it into the legislation as a yeah.
Thank you. As we have just 5 minutes left, I would like to conclude. First of all, I would like to thank our panelists for this super interesting discussion and tell you a few words about the next steps. So the next webinar will be held on the 16th of April. It's organized by our colleagues from Technalia, technical center that is also partner of the Nebula project. This second webinar will be the interview of 3 awardees of the NEB prizes. It is also part of the NEB Festival, and it will be hosted by the Build Up platform. I can drop the web address for the registration in the chat. Also, I wanted to tell you that we will be in Brussels for the NEB Festival. The Nebula project will be in the fair with several other projects that are funded under the Build for People partnership. I know Annemie will be there as well. I don't know if Liz, Koen, Margrethe, you plan to be there. But anyway, don't hesitate to meet us at the fair. And that's it. So thank you very much, everyone. Hope to see you online in 1 month. Thanks a lot. Have a very nice lunch. And thanks again to our panelists. Goodbye.